Like, it doesn't matter if people love it now. At the time, they literally were like, hey, I know you live here, but wouldn't you love living somewhere else? Anyway, we're going to cover this now, which has some TOS in it, I suspect. At 2:30 to 2:20 to 2:30, there's dead bodies.
My village is a very beautiful one.
This is about the Nakba, okay? For those of you who are wondering how the Israeli state was formed.
It has a mountain full of trees of figs and grapes, and it faces the main road to Jerusalem.
This is a story about what happened here in 1948.
We are only 750 people, and everybody knows each other. I came from a big family. We lived a good life. We never expect to be massacred. It was a black spot in the history.
That history has been carefully concealed, purposefully distorted, and in the West, largely forgotten.
They put our village as an example with what they can do.
The massacre in this village was one of many in a series of catastrophic events that became known as the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were violently displaced from their homeland in order to create the state of Israel.
In May of 1948, a new Jewish state, Israel, was born in a bath of blood.
The borders of Palestine have been changed forcefully over time, but historically, this region has been home to Palestinians for centuries, with hundreds of villages and thriving cities. One of them being the central city of Jerusalem, with holy sites important to Jewish, Christian, and Muslim people. By the late Ottoman Empire, Palestinians living here were overwhelmingly Muslim, with minority Christian and Jewish native populations too. But regardless of religion, Palestinians were often referred to as Arabs, people of the Arabic-speaking world, despite their distinctive culture.
Palestinians have long distinguished themselves as Ahl Palestine, or the people of Palestine. They developed a distinctive Arabic accent, they developed regional food, regional dress.
Needs 2,000 additional years of context. I can't tell. See, usually I can't tell if this is like some ultra-nationalist Israeli being like, we found some fucking coins like Netanyahu does every now and then, or if you're just like making fun of that. Because that position is so fucking ridiculous. And I genuinely don't know. Like, it's probably some Crusader LARPer. No, there is like, it could go in either direction where the people, there are a lot of people who are like, well, Jewish people were indigenous to the area 2,000 years ago. Okay. Which is like the classic take of like the real indigenous genocide is like conducted by Palestinians living there. This guy identifies as a libertarian socialist. I can't tell. I can't tell if they're like memeing or being serious. And I feel like they're trying to make up their mind right now as well. It's stupid because technically the Chinese were in Xinjiang before Uyghurs, but nobody says the Uyghurs should leave Xinjiang because of their 1,300 years of history there. Like, what the fuck is that argument? Yeah. No, forcible expulsion of all peoples. It's like, at what point, dude? At what point? At what point do we... It's like fucking saying we can colonize Africa because all people came from Africa. I feel like, I wonder if there's an argument there. Have like the Boers or anyone made that argument before? South Africa is technically ours because we come from Africa. We all come from Africa. You know what I mean? Like, it's ours because we're the real natives. You know? What about Ukraine and Russia? Law? I mean, you can, it just depends. It's entirely dependent on who's making the argument and like what their cutoff is. You know what I mean? What did you just start? Yeah, dude. What do you even say the Israelis are the real indigenous people? I've heard it a lot. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. You just heard me. It's like saying Europeans are the real indigenous people in Africa. Like, there are people living there, okay? You can't do that. Also, everyone is Turkish, so that's the real answer. Yeah, Ukraine and Russia does not work because they have both been native to the land they currently live in. It's kind of actually the big point, the big historical point at the heart of this this problem as well, with Ukrainians saying that they were first and the Russians were the pig dogs. You know, the what was it, like Muscovite Like the Russians are you know, mountain people or forest people that weren't as advanced as the Ukrainians were. Ultimately, oh yeah, Kievan Rus before it was Russia. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because they're all Turks, and by that I mean the Crimean Tatars were Turks, and everyone is Mongolian and also Turk, except for Hungarians who have strayed too far away from the path. They're too. They hate their own history too much, so they're not Turks. Except for the Hungarians. Everyone else is Turkish. I've decided. Bro, Ottomans is even under this fucking rock as well. They're involved in everything in history ever. Okay, that is because the Ottoman Empire was an empire. When you are an empire, yes, of course, you have your hand in everything. That is the reason why, especially as it pertains to Palestine, yes, the Ottoman rule is important.
Dress and family ties.
But by the time World War I began, several key political forces were competing for control of these lands. First, there was a growing Arab...
Magyars are Turks. What the fuck? No, they're not. They've strayed away too far from the beaten path. Okay? They're too embarrassed to be considered Turks. They're like, oh, we're German. We're different. Like, oh, not German. Sorry. We're fucking... we're Christian. We're different. Like, no, I have excommunicated the Magyars from the Turkic population in spite of the fact that they are Turks as well. Anyway, there's death coming
political
now.
Movement, looking for independence from the Ottoman Empire in hopes of a unified Arab state that would include Palestine. Then there were Zionists, a political group that had one main goal: the creation of a Jewish state.
Yeah, Theodor Herzl.
Zionism was a response to an increasingly brutal climate for Jewish people, particularly in Europe and Russia, where there was a massive wave of anti-Semitism, including large-scale attacks in the late 1800s and early 1900s. After briefly considering other areas for a new state, including Uganda and Argentina, Zionist leaders decided on Palestine because...
Okay, that I did not know. They thought about Uganda and Argentina? That's crazy. What the fuck? Why? I knew about Theodor Herzl coming to the Ottoman Empire and being like, can we have Palestine, please? And the Ottoman Empire was like, no. There's a large Jewish population in Argentina, actually. That's crazy.
Because of its connection to early religious history. But there was a third key group with political interests here: the British.
Bro, I feel like if they did it in Argentina, there would be a second issue similar to, you know, the second issue, the Second World War. Because there are too many... Argentina happens to have the populations of all of the other Axis powers, with the exception of Japan. It's like more Italian than it is Latin American.
Control of the region would allow them to expand their spheres of influence and protect trade routes to India. During World War I, since both the British and the Arab independence movement wanted Palestine, they decided to go after the Ottomans together with an important pledge. Through a series of letters...
Yes, Bibi's brother died in a mission extracting Jews in Uganda. There was a decent diaspora there. No, it was the flight. I thought that was in Kenya, by the way. Was that in Uganda? Yes. Bibi Netanyahu was supposed to die on that mission alongside his brother in Uganda. Was it Uganda? But at the time, and still to this day, they have a rule in the Israeli forces where two brothers cannot join the same military operation, because if they do and they both die, then there's no succession of the family. So he literally didn't go, and his brother died. Why do people call him Bibi? I don't know. His name is Benjamin. They saw Saving Private Ryan and took it personally. No, what I'm saying is correct. That was Operation Solomon in Ethiopia. Yeah, I don't think it was Uganda. The airport. Yeah, Yoni Netanyahu was an Israeli military officer who commandeered the Sayeret Matkal during the Entebbe raid, launched a response in 1976, hijacking of an international civilian passenger flight from Israel to France by Palestinian and German militants. Bro, there was a point in time where the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine was just fucking yoinking planes like it was nobody's business. TrueAnon actually did a really fun episode on like plane hijacking. Back in the day, planes used to get hijacked all the fucking time. 9/11 kind of like solidified that it would never happen again. Yeah, he's Benjamin Netanyahu's brother. There is a huge Jewish population in Argentina currently and has been for decades. Stop assuming that everyone in here is just Nazis or anti-Semites. The idea that Argentina is full of Nazis is so far from the truth. Okay, first of all, we're joking. And second of all, if you noticed, I didn't just say Argentina is full of Nazis. I said Argentina is full of Axis power nationals, which is true. That's why you didn't hear me say that and instead hyper-focused on Germans. But that's not what I said. I said Axis powers, Italians specifically. And not only that, but I also said Argentina has more Italians than they do Latinos, which is fucking true. So what the fuck are you yelling about? It is more Italian, is it not? Why did you make why, my Argentinian chatter, did you choose to get fucking mad and yell about an entirely unrelated thing to the joke that I was making? Brazil has the largest Japanese diaspora outside of Japan. South America is just wild with Axis power nationals. Well, Brazil is also wild with Axis power nationals too. RG here, no, we are not more Italian than Latin American. Please stop saying that shit. Okay, well, I'm joking. But anyway, damn, bro, we can't even make fun of Argentina. Dude. If you can't make fun of Argentina, then, I mean, which is like the most common Latin American meme, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Then all that's left is the Nazi Brazilians. You know what I mean? If it's not true, it's a joke. I mean, it's an exaggeration. That's what jokes are. To be fair to the Argentinians, though, I wouldn't want to be called Italian either. That's fair. All right, let's continue.
In 1916, an Arab leader and a British...
Yeah, how about everyone in Argentina focus on your fucking ANCAP guy who's gonna, I think, like, blow up the Fed or something? Yeah, how about you guys worry about that instead of anything else? Or, yeah, the cultural... Kyle Rittenhouse's cultural center. Yeah, the guy wants to do organ trade in the free market and, like, sell children. Yeah, Argentina has the most Italians outside of Italy. Yeah, I know. Leading immigration countries of Italians as of 2021. That's crazy that, like, America doesn't even have enough. Latino isn't an ethnicity. There's people with different backgrounds. Oh, man, I was joking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I will never make a joke ever again. I'm sorry. You guys are right. To all the Argentinians, I'm so wrong. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's continue. Let's just watch this.
Official agreed that if Arabs would help the British fight the Ottomans and give the British economic and other foreign privileges in Arab lands, in return, the British would recognize and support an independent Arab state. Soon, the Arabs started doing their part in revolting against the Ottomans, making it easier for the British to move in. But the next year, the British issued a new declaration and betrayed the Arabs.
In 1917,
Shocking.
Lord Allenby.
Shocking that North Africa and Palestine and that entire region is filled to the brim with people finding out after the fact that perhaps aligning with European colonial powers was not better in the emancipatory struggle against the Ottoman Empire. And this isn't like a I told you so moment. I'm just like literally, demonstrably, it was just fucking awful. And many of those nations never really recovered. Some of which had to also then additionally have their own violent post-colonial, anti-colonial struggles. They betrayed the Assyrians too. They lied and told the Arabs and Assyrians that they, if they rebelled, they will give them independence. Yeah, they just... It's all like everybody loves watching. What's that fucking movie? The classic, the handsome guy, Lawrence of Arabia. Is that what it is? It's like the British coming in. They loved telling Arabs, you know, hey, guess what? You guys are gonna be totally so chill, so fucking chill. We're gonna save you guys so hard, and then they never did that. What's up? Why do I give her a treat? She's been a good girl? Okay. Hello? Hello? Hello? You want this? Okay, go ahead.
They conquered the Holy Land, and the Jews were promised a national home in Palestine.
Without consulting the native Palestinian population.
When you read all about post-colonial history, why do you think America, as bad as it is, was worse than Britain? First of all, I've never said that. And secondly, at that point, it's like, it's a race to the bottom. You're making a comparison between like the worst of all worlds, and I'm more so focused on like at least contemporary history. Like, you know, America in contemporary history is significantly worse.
Population, the British issued what's known as the Balfour Declaration, supporting the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. So instead of supporting the idea of Palestine as part of a unified and independent Arab state, the British pledged to help secure this land for Zionists. It was a strategic move. This declaration
It's such a wild moment because they're like, oh shit, dude, it's perfect. Like, we were literally looking for a place to send every Jewish person. Like, it doesn't matter if people love it now, okay? At the time, they literally were like, hey, I know you live here, but wouldn't you love living somewhere else? And certainly there were people at the time who were like, okay, well, my neighbors want to fucking kill me, so I'd rather go try shit out in this other area, right? But it is wild that like so many European countries were like, please do not stay in Europe.
opened up a pathway for Britain to gain power in Palestine.
Under the guise that it was supporting the self-determination of another people, of a people in Palestine who don't reside there yet.
As for Palestine's majority Arab population, the declaration referred to them as non-Jewish communities, who would be given civil and religious rights, but not political rights. A few years later, after World War I ended, Britain gained control of Palestine through a mandate that also required them to put the Balfour plans for Jewish settlement in motion. And they did. Between 1922 and 1931, the Jewish population more than doubled. The migration helped the Zionist movement gain steam, and a slogan took off: a land without people for a people without land.
And it sends a
Like, they did have a land. Like, it's insane to say that. Bro, they were your neighbors, dog. Like, the fuck? And also, a land without people? Fuck you mean a land without people? Not any part of this is correct. There was motherfuckers there, okay? There were people there. And also, the people without land were your neighbors.
message to Western leaders that the people who had been living in Palestine for generations could just be easily moved elsewhere. The idea was that those inhabitants weren't a people with ties to that land.
Palestine was, of course, a land with a people. In 1931, there were more than 850,000 Palestinian Arabs in the region, still the vast majority. But with the rise of Hitler,
I think it's because early on in Europe, there was actually no reason to stay in most parts of it. That's the reason the Vikings, for example, engaged in raiding. It's easier to live in the south of Europe / the Mediterranean. Yeah, but we're not talking, at that point, we're not talking about like Viking raid Europe. We're talking about like the end part of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. You know what I mean? Like, these are well-established post-industrial, these are well-established industrialized nation states. They're no longer existing in like a feudal state whatsoever.
and the Nazi Party in particular.
Hate became a rallying call.
Jewish flight from Europe became even more urgent, and Palestine started to see the biggest wave of Jewish immigration yet. Violence broke out, rooted in tensions over land. Jewish settlers purchased swaths of fertile land and evicted tenant farmers, creating a crisis of hundreds of thousands of landless, dispossessed Palestinian Arabs.
Yep.
Though Palestinians fiercely rebelled against both British colonial forces and Jewish settlers,
This is why there's also a history of socialist formations in Palestine in particular, because it was like landlords coming in and just being like, yeah, fuck off. Who did they buy the land from? Yeah, much to consider. Viking guy talking about Palestine like the Crusader was just fighting ghosts. No, he's just, I think he fucked up the history or the age.
they were brutally crushed by the British.
They put in Palestine more troops to repress that rebellion than they had stationed in India.
For real, who sold? Wait, what do you mean? It was British occupation at that point. It's post World War I, chatter. Hello? Like, who do you think owns the land at that point? It's the British and the Egyptians. So what ended up happening was, although there were fucking Palestinians living there, they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna sell you guys this land because we wanna put you here anyway. So one part of this that is a one part of this that's an issue is, yeah, official name was British Mandate of Palestine. Ironically, Jewish Palestinians exist. Yes, unironically, yes, I know they do. There were Jews that lived there. There were Christians that lived there. There were Muslims that made up the largest number of people that lived there. Anyway, Egypt was also a British protectorate at the time, so 100% just the British fault. Yes. They owned everything. And guess what? When they sold the land or raised property taxes so that nobody could fucking purchase the land or maintain the land, and then they sold it off, they turned around and they fucking forcibly expelled you. It's still ridiculous. Like, the people of Palestine have just been colonized on the jump.
Yeah, that time, all of India.
These troops killed thousands of Palestinians, including many of their leaders, and the British began training and arming Zionist militias to suppress the rebellion too. But the rebellion continued. So, in an attempt to prevent further Palestinian resistance, the British began to limit Jewish immigration into Palestine. This ended up angering Zionist extremists, leading to more violence. So, in 1947, after decades of trying to manipulate both Palestinian Arabs and Zionists to keep their control over Palestine, Britain gave up and handed the question of Palestine to someone else.
To the United Nations also came the problem of Palestine. In recent years, this small country had been the scene of disorder and bloodshed.
They figured, there is this new thing called the United Nations. Here, in your lap, Palestine, first gift. So the United Nations has now to figure out, how do you disentangle this thing that the British helped create?
A UN special committee proposed the land be divided into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as a separate UN control.
With your stream, I'm at the gym and all the news on just portrays it as a terrorist attack and provides no background info as to why. Just pray for Israel. I don't know how the mainstream can be educated. Well, that's why I try and do it as best as I can. Anyone that says that yesterday's actions were unprovoked is either A, completely misinformed, or B, purposely lying to you. They want to manipulate you. It's insane to say that, like, any Palestinian action is unprovoked at this point. Okay? That's why this information is incredibly important to understand.
Controlled entity. It was called the Partition Plan of 1947. The plan shocked Palestinians.
We could not accept the partition plan because at that time the population, we were almost 2-to-1.
But the plan proposed giving over half the land, and often the most fertile areas, to the Jewish state.
From a purely pragmatic perspective, the partition plan didn't make much sense for Palestinian Arabs.
That wasn't the only problem with the plan. Within this proposed area of the Jewish state were hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs, including both Muslims and Christians, who had lived there for generations.
On a moral level, the idea of making hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs minorities in their own homeland seemed unjust and unfair.
In November 1947, the UN...
Yeah, I mean, but it's a landless place, you know? I mean, it's a peopleless land, you know? It's a little bit unjust. Yeah. Leave it to the fucking Euro dogs to come up with a good solution.
Put the plan to a vote. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, and after lobbying from U.S. leaders and Zionists, the UN voted in favor of partition.
And finally, a momentous decision to partition the Holy Land's 10,000 square miles.
Britain announced their mandate over Palestine would end on May 15, 1948, even as Palestinians continued to reject the UN's decision to partition the land.
After the partition took place, in 1947, we really were scared something might happen to us.
By the end of 1947, Zionists had several well-developed paramilitary...
Guys, listen, the United Nations has also said no to Israel pretty much since its inception. They've gone like this every time. Every year they go like this. Hey, Israel, knock it out. You got to stop having an apartheid state, please. So they've done a lot of good stuff, really. They've done great stuff. You stop it now, please. And then America's like, lol, no. It's so funny. Fuck, what was that in the shit. I forget what year this was, but I remember like every single nation involved in the United Nations said that the embargo on Cuba must end, except for what? Israel and the United States of America. Israel and the United States of America. Or food is a human right. That was another one. Just FYI, that slogan is being slightly misrepresented. It was a rallying cry to get people to immigrate to areas that actually weren't populated to start kibbutzim. It wasn't saying the entirety of Palestine was empty. Okay, thank you. That was actually very informative. I'm not being sarcastic. Yeah, oh, here it is. Entire world votes 185-2 against the blockade of Cuba. U.S. and Israel are the rogue states at the UN. For the 30th year in a row, almost every country on earth voted at the United Nations to oppose the 6-decade U.S. blockade of Cuba. You want to know who the one abstention was? Ukraine. Oh, well, Brazil too. Actually. So they won 85-2, and what happens? What do you mean what happens? You can't do anything. You can't say anything. Yeah, no, not Lula's Brazil, Bolsonaro's Brazil. But you can't do anything to America, chat. That's why we're laughing at the UN. The UN is worthless. Yeah, it was under Bolsonaro. It's all symbolic. It's all for every country to turn back and go, man, you guys are, don't do that. And yet, the funniest part is, bro, the UN, every time Israel kills a kid, knock it off. Yeah, that's what the UN does every time. And then it doesn't end there, because Zionists or ultra-nationalist, like ranging from liberal Zionism to like ultra-nationalist Israeli defenders, will get so fucking mad anytime the UN says, hey, Israel, knock it off, okay? They get so mad. They're like, what about Saudi Arabia? What about all these other places? It's like, you don't care about anybody else. You only care about fucking Israel because you guys are all anti-Semitic. And it's like, bro, they built Israel. Like, what do you mean? Israel, they made you, dog. They made you. Fuck you mean? They have no power. Let him at least go knock it out. Knock it off. Don't do it. Anyway, like 7-ish countries that make up the Security Council member nations have veto power over anything. Yes, the Security Council veto power needs to be eliminated, except like it doesn't matter. Every international cooperative, every international formation is always used at the behest of the United States of America. It is yet another demonstration of America's hegemonic power. Anyway, let's continue with this Nakba.
The largest one, known as the Haganah.
We haven't even gotten to the Nakba yet, which is like the most brutal part of it.
And more extremist militias like Irgun. On March 10th, a couple of months before the British mandate would end, the Haganah adopted what was called Plan Dalit, or Plan D. On paper, the main goal was to gain control of the Jewish state, as laid out in the partition plan, while also defending Jewish settlements outside of the borders. In reality, that's where the majority of these operations took place, outside of the UN's proposed Jewish state. Some carried out by Haganah and others by more radical militias. Many of these operations focused on isolating Jerusalem and the roads to it. A set of brutal instructions called for the destruction of Arab villages by setting fire to, blowing up, and planting mines, especially those population centers which were difficult to control. In case of resistance, it called for the population to be expelled outside of the borders of the state.
By the way, to this day, the villainous actions and the vicious defense of this is so crazy, because they'll say, and even in Western media, they actually cover it as such, and this is really disgusting, people voluntarily left their houses. To this day, they say, when talking about the Nakba, they say people voluntarily, like textbooks literally say, like you're reading a fucking Turkish textbook on the Armenian genocide, okay? They literally will openly write that this is, people voluntarily left their homes.
Villages emptied, and for the occupation and control of Arab villages along main transportation arteries. One of the most widely publicized village massacres happened here in Deir Yassin.
We lived in Deir Yassin, which is about 4 miles west of Jerusalem.
91-year-old Dawood Assad was there the day of the massacre and was 18 at the time.
We saw one night, that night, the night before, a movement of lights, armored trucks moving around, moving like this. So we know that something is wrong. That's why we knew that something is going to happen to our village.
On April 9th, 1948,
800,000 totally voluntary exits. Yeah, dude. Pacman always argued every state came into existence this way, so it's okay. Ridiculous. Yeah, this is, I think, David Pacman, who I think has, you know, some decent takes. A lot of things I agree with. This is the one point of convergence between himself and myself, for sure. I don't agree with him on that. I think it's crazy. I mean, he's right. That is how every nation state formed, except the entire point is like we've moved beyond it, right? Like we're supposed to be against that sort of thing. Or divergence, not convergence. Sorry. Dude, I'm fucking tired today. Holy shit. Yeah. Yes, you guys got me. Divergence.
extremist Zionist forces, executing Plan D, closed in on Deir Yassin, even though the village had made a local peace pact with neighboring Jewish settlements.
Friday morning, they attacked us. My uncles, they were shooting at them, and I was there loading the gun for them and shooting. We fought about.
That's pretty anti-Semitic of him, if you think about it, though. Just, you know, don't think about it any further.
Almost 2.5 hours. They found my uncle, and they put him on the wall, and they shot him 8 bullets in cold blood. My grandmother, she went in the village to see my mother.
You are both crazy. That is not how states are built. What the hell? Wait, what? Of course. Plenty of... Wait. A lot of states are built on acts of colonial violence, mass displacement. The fuck? The point is, it's not supposed to happen now. It's not supposed to happen so close to World War II. Ultimately, the entire thing is like, oh, well, it goes back like too long in the past. So now we just kind of live here. I don't know of a formation of a state that has not built on violence. But like, if this happened tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I was about to say, what if this was happening right now, where a large power, a large regional power, was maybe forcibly expanding its state boundaries into an area where it claims it has historical claim to. Like, I don't know, let's say it's in Eastern Europe. Like, for example, if that was happening, right? If that was happening, everyone would go, hey, that's really fucked up, actually. Maybe that's not allowed. Maybe that shouldn't be allowed, as a matter of fact. Maybe, just maybe, the entire world would even get together, especially the Western world. Maybe not the third world, because they're like, yeah, fuck you guys. This is your problem. I don't give a shit. And we'll get together and be like, we are going to give you as many guns as you possibly can have, as a matter of fact. Motherfucker said China. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. China. Not bad, Alon?
Her way, she got shot. My brother Omar fell.
And maybe there'd be reactionaries in such invaded country, but people didn't paint the whole country to be Nazis. Yeah, maybe even in this community, as a matter of fact, someone always said that Ukrainians have a right to emancipation, and Russia's actions in Ukraine will probably cause a much more reactionary formation to seize power long after and cause blowback. And the way to stop that is always the same. Stop doing colonial violence. Bad take. The third world definitely cares. Where does their food come from? That's funny. It's a great opportunity for you to at least like look at what's going on. Not necessarily that it's like significant, but if you think that most of the developing nations are legitimately on the same tip as far as the Western formation on Ukraine, I don't know what to tell you. Who comes from the third world? No, he's not wrong. He's saying that like Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, even though it's not. It's the breadbasket of the third world. That's what he's saying. That's why he's saying that. Ukrainian wheat is important for developing nations. But ultimately, regardless of that, they're still not in the same not as feverishly in support of Ukraine as like America and England is. Ukrainian wheat.
From her shoulder to the floor, but the floor was a concrete one.
Dawood escaped through a trench.
I went down all the way down here like this. So it was 4 hours walking to Jerusalem.
To this day, the archive of the Israeli army refuses to release many of the images and intelligence reports on Deir Yassin. But one UN report detailed circumstances of great savagery, including women and children stripped, lined up, photographed, and slaughtered. Roughly 100 people, largely children and the elderly, were killed in the village. As for Dawood, he later reunited with the group of Deir Yassin captives in Jerusalem, including his sister and mother.
My mother says, "Where is your Uncle Radwan?" He says, "He was shot." "Where is your grandmother?" He said, "He was shot, and Umar was with her." So everybody has a commotion, you know. Where is Fatima? Where is Ibrahim? Where is Amaryam? Where is David? Where is Ahmed? Where is Ismail? I'm a dream about it, you know.
News of what happened in Deir Yassin spread quickly, with far-reaching effects.
The Zionist militias used it as a propaganda tool to tell people about it everywhere. The idea was that if you don't leave, we will do to you what happened in Deir Yassin.
Stories came out about women being raped, about babies being killed, and induced a great deal of fear among the Palestinian Arab population, many of them fleeing as a result.
There's photos.
Jewish troops routed Arab forces from the city of Haifa.
After taking Deir Yassin, Zionist paramilitary groups cleared major cities, including Haifa and Jaffa, and took hundreds of smaller villages and towns too. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced to flee, pouring into neighboring states as refugees.
Once again, I need to repeat something. This is, in most textbooks, treated as voluntarily leaving. Okay? In most textbooks, they treat this as voluntarily leaving the country and their homes.
Plan D became the blueprint for carrying out the ethnic cleansing of historic Palestine to make room for a new state. And on May 14th, the day before the British mandate ended, Zionists declared this state as Israel.
Bro, I was talking to someone who's a very well-read, very intelligent person yesterday who did not know that Israel was formed in 1948. Like, they were legitimately shocked. I was like, wait, when do you think Israel was formed? He's like, well, I don't know, like a couple hundred years ago. I'm not even kidding. Like, literally. Like, people don't know. Like, Americans don't learn about any of this shit. They're like, what? Israel's not been around for that long? Like, what the fuck's going on? It is shocking how little this kind of shit is taught in schools. So much so that I believe it might be by design. You know what I mean? Sounds like they weren't particularly well read then, right? No, I think a lot of Americans can be very well read and not know anything about history, and everything they learn about history is like super propagandized. Because Bible timeline, because people always do that. This goes back 2,000 years bullshit. No, I don't think he was like particularly propagandized in that direction. Are you saying it's a Jewish conspiracy? Wait, what? My understanding, the war in 1948, there were leaflets telling Arabs to leave while the invasion happened. Just saying, man. Really? Not only did you cynically fucking try to claim that I'm saying that it's a Jewish conspiracy, okay? If anything, it would yet again not be a Jewish conspiracy. It would be a British and Western imperialist conspiracy. So you're not just saying. And secondly, you literally just, how can you in the same breath accuse someone of saying anti-Semitic shit while simultaneously literally adopting the exact same techniques that Nazis, still to this day, neo-Nazis utilize when describing certain aspects of the Holocaust? How can you do that in the same fucking breath, dude? Oh, dude, there was a leaflet? That's crazy. What's next? Are you going to tell me that, like, Israel is the most moral army on the planet because they actually do a knocker? They throw a dud on top of the fucking building that they destroy moments later. How benevolent, man. That's so crazy. I think it makes it totally appropriate to run the world's largest open air prison at that point. Not cynical. I like that you are bringing this up, but the issue is you're saying history is not being taught. Why? 1948 was an awful year. What? Bro, have you actually seen an American textbook? Do you know the endless amount of shit that Americans are completely oblivious to? I have other well-read friends who are completely oblivious to the reality of Renaissance and Reformation, as a matter of fact. They just don't know. They do not fucking learn about it in school. It's crazy.
But the creation of Israel didn't end the Nakba. Neighboring Arab countries that were overwhelmed by Palestinian refugees immediately went to war with Israel.
Now united in a League of Arab States, they are insistent that the entry of refugees into Palestine must be ended.
The fighting lasted for months. Arab armies eventually lost while Palestinians continued to be killed and forced out throughout that time. Palestinians who fled often carried only enough to stay away for a few weeks, hoping they'd eventually return home.
A lot of them locked their doors, put their key in their pocket, and then moved to safer ground. When you leave the house and you take your key with you, it's because you're planning to go home. In the case of the Palestinians, those refugees weren't allowed to return.
Refugees trying to return were often shot at. Zionist paramilitary operations also tried to prevent them from returning again by destroying the villages.
That act of preventing their return compounded the Nakba. So the Nakba is both the forcible displacement of Palestinians from their homes and lands and country, as well as preventing them to return once the fighting was over.
Palestinian society was dismembered, crushed. More than half of the Palestinian people became refugees, stateless, dispossessed of their land.
Over time, the state of Israel covered up the physical evidence.
If the Arabs put down their weapons today, there would be no more violence. If the Jews put down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel. You're joking, right? Because I hear that all the fucking time. No. If the Israeli military put down its weapons today, there would most likely be infinitely less violence. You have it backwards. I hope you understand that. That's all they have is bumper sticker slogans like, dude, what do you think happens in the West Bank, dog? Huh? Go ahead. Explain that shit to me. Every single time someone who is a defender of Zionism comes to you and says this fucking bullshit, which is patented bumper sticker ass Zionist propaganda, ask them, so what about the fucking West Bank then? What did the people in the fucking West Bank do? Why did you steal their homes? Okay? I'm not even talking about the Nakba now, not the existence of the Israeli state being built on top of the expulsion and forcible expulsion and killings of the existing population there. But like right now, there is a peaceful coexistence project in the West Bank. Do you think that they're peaceful? Do you think that the situation is good? Explain that to me. You know? Explain that to me. It's a Netanyahu quote. I know Netanyahu is also a Holocaust revisionist. You want to talk about that too? I am in fact joking and support Palestine. Oh, okay. Chief 3Z, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, by the way. Allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. It's been 6 hours of nonstop coverage. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Evidence of an Arab Palestine. Place names were often changed from Arabic ones to Hebrew ones. The Jewish National Fund embarked on a massive effort to plant thousands of acres of pine forests and recreational areas on top of hundreds of ruined Palestinian villages.
Even though these forests have now grown into big pine trees, Palestinians have not forgotten their homelands.
While we know that roughly 6,000 Israelis lost their lives in
It's actually insane that I, as someone whose family has been in the U.S. since before the first Zionist Congress, can return to Israel, but Palestinians who literally lived in the area 75 years ago are kept out. Yes, that is by design. Also, let's say you live in the West Bank right now. You're a fucking Palestinian Christian, you're a Palestinian Arab, and you live in the West Bank. Okay, you're not an Israeli citizen, and you live in your fucking designated home, your familial home, that you've been living in for generations, and you leave, you are not allowed back into West Bank to your fucking house. You can't leave. You can't fucking leave. Israel will go, all right, well, you can't come back. Sorry, you left. Why? Why? Explain that to me. Explain that shit to me, that you could be some fucking dumbass, okay, from motherfucking Long Island, and you can fly over there and be like, this is my house now. But if you've lived there for 7 fucking generations, okay, you can't have your house back. Sorry, you left. Like, this is the actual policy. And there are still motherfuckers who try to defend it, dude. That is so insane. How? How can you sit there and be like, this violence is unprovoked. This violence is unprovoked. This violence is unprovoked. It's not unprovoked. It is an apartheid state. And no, that's not me. I've been saying that for years, but I'm not alone anymore in saying that. The Human Rights Watch is saying that. Amnesty International is saying that. Bro, you are full of shit. You are not even living there. Suck my fucking entire cock, you fucking genocide defending, apartheid state supporting piece of shit. The only way you can fucking cope with how grim the reality is by just going, la la la la la la, I can't hear you. You must be lying. Dumb bitch.
In the violence of the Nakba, records for Palestinian deaths weren't kept. It's estimated to be around 15,000. By the end of the Nakba, roughly 7.
Since 2005, your opinion is consensus internationally outside of USA? Yeah, brother. But since 2009, I've been living in the United States of America, where that opinion is not consensus still to this fucking day.
750,000 Palestinians had been forcefully expelled.
Again, stop defending terrorism. Brother, I am not defending the Israeli state, okay? As a matter of fact, this is a criticism of the Israeli state. Don't come in here and fucking cry, okay?
And more than 500 villages destroyed. Though the UN's partition plan allotted Israel 56% of the land, through the Nakba, Israel captured 78% of the land. It was everything except what's now known as the occupied West Bank and Gaza.
Are you mixing up Jerusalem residency and West Bank residency? Israel has a policy target of 60+% Jewish for Jerusalem. I haven't heard that about the West Bank. Yeah, that's the Israeli state openly doing ethnic cleansing in Jerusalem and ethnic displacement in Jerusalem. The policy in the West Bank is the exact same as the policy in Jerusalem, even if they don't fucking openly state what their target demographic displacement number is. Also, where the fuck is Jerusalem, I wonder? Where could Jerusalem be? Oh, I forgot that if Jared Kushner and Donald Trump decide that it's actually Israel now, then it's actually Israel now. There's a reason why that occupied West Bank map that you look at now is full of fucking holes, because they partitioned it. They call it occupied West Bank because they're fucking occupying it, which is, again, illegal. Okay? It's illegal. Where would be a good place for the Jews to live after dissolving Israel? Thank you for this question that is certainly not biased, Chad Mary, who has literally nonstop said insane shit. Okay, well, let's get started. First and foremost, if you live in West Bank, you're done. You're not there anymore, okay? You're out. Why are you out? Because you're engaging in an act of terror. I do not care how many fucking family members you have there now. You're going back to Long Island. As a matter of fact, many of them just did. They did. They did literally today and yesterday. You want to know why they went back to Philadelphia, why they went back to Long Island? Because they were like, oh, fuck, people are actually shooting in my direction. So now stay there, okay? Come back home. Stay in your fucking home, okay? That's not your house. You're not allowed. So, and that's not my take. That's the UN Charter. That's literally the international global perspective on the matter. This is 1,000,000% an unjustifiable, illegal criminal act. It's called settler terrorism, okay? So just so you understand, if you live in the West Bank and you're not supposed to be there, if you live in the West Bank as an Israeli person, if you're living in the West Bank and the Israeli government is defending you to live there, you are a terrorist. Like, actually, a definitionally terrorist person. You're doing an act of terror, okay? So that's number one. So you're gone. You're not there anymore. If you're asking, like, oh, what happens to all the other Jews? At this point, I do not believe that all of the Israeli Jews that live there are going to leave without like genuine terror occurring, okay? Which is precisely the reason why I think that there needs to be a one-state solution where reparations are given to all Palestinians, and Palestinians are able to get back to their own homes and live in their own homes and live in their own houses that they historically were living in, and there is a one-state, fully democratic, every single person has equal rights solution. Not a two-state solution. The two-state solution is dead. It's dead in the water. It's never going to happen. Freedom of travel for everyone living on historic Palestine, for every single person. They coexist. It has happened. It's not a utopia. Shut the fuck up. I hate when people say that's a utopia. It's not a utopia. It is what it looked like before the Nakba, okay? And not only that, but also it's deeply frustrating to say that this is a fucking utopia when plenty of nations have had these kinds of problems and now fucking coexist, okay? Oh, two-state will never work. It has never worked, and it will not work, okay? Not going to work. The two-state solution is what has allowed Israel to basically commit to a one-state solution, but under their terms and conditions, where all Muslims and all Arabs in general, not Jewish Arabs, but Muslim Arabs especially, are bullied and humiliated and fucking killed and constantly, they are constantly under the microscope. Or, yeah, maybe a zero-state solution. Reform the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire coexisted with a hugely diverse population. Yes. No, you're wrong. A two-state solution would work. Like, why do you have a problem with two Palestines? Got one as a reserve, then you know. Okay, dude. First of all, you're German. You shouldn't be saying stuff like that. The fucking Stasi is going to come to your house and break your door, okay? Germans are not even allowed to make jokes in the direction of Israel, okay? Can you give an example of two groups that formed one country and didn't hate each other anymore? I don't know. I mean, South Africa, horrible economic development in South Africa, but apartheid was lifted in South Africa. You know what I mean? Wait, why'd you get banned? So Palestinians are incapable of genocide for sure? Dude. Once again, I cannot have a conversation with you if I'm having a conversation with your hypotheticals. You're literally doing the same fucking thing that slavers did post-Reconstruction. How can we give these newly freed slaves any power? They're going to kill us. They're going to do the same thing that we did to them. It comes with the violent colonial fear that you have, okay? You have that fear in the back of your mind that they will treat me like I treated them. But there is no reason for you to feel that way. Historically, that is not what has happened. So shut the fuck up. Yeah, also, your take basically devolves into, just in case Palestinians might do a hypothetical genocide to us, we should preemptively genocide them. The two-state solution is why Jewish people all over the world are considered citizens of Israel, yet Palestinian people who live within its own borders are not even considered human. Exactly. Anyway. You know very well it's just some fraction. I mean, people 3gen there. And if they choose them representation that will have similar approach to Jews there as Hamas. Anyway. Land expropriation and taking control of the land. Israel has used a complex legal and bureaucratic mechanism to take control of more than 50% of the land in the West Bank. Yeah, I covered this before. Oh. They literally say, like, you have no acknowledgement. I never said I want their genocide, and was really asking today about this one thing. I'm really asking. Bro, I don't understand why you keep saying I'm just simply asking questions. Okay, at a certain point, especially in a situation like the one that we're currently watching from the sidelines, it doesn't seem like you're just asking questions. It seems like you're saying shit. You know what I mean? It seems like you are implying things. We all understand it. There's 31,377 people here, the overwhelming majority of which understand exactly what you're trying to do. But for some reason, you think you're like talking to a bunch of dumbasses. And I guess you're really getting across that you're simply just curious. Where can I see your view of Hamas? You completely support them? No, man. What the fuck? I want the violence to end. And the only way for that violence to end, the only way for the violence to be starved out is by stopping the occupation, stopping the apartheid regime in Israel. And it is not just bad for the Palestinians, it's bad for the Israelis too. What is happening right now is a byproduct of endless occupation, endless colonial expansion, and endless apartheid. People can only be pushed so far until somebody pushes back. You do know that many Jews in Israel were Middle Eastern Jews that escaped persecution by newly formed Arabic states after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and Islam literally calls for the destruction of the Jewish people. Dude, hey, jackass, what fucking religion was the Ottoman Empire? Hey, you fucking donkey. What religion was the Ottoman Empire? Can you explain to me, were all those Jews living under Ottoman Empire rules? What fucking religion it was under? Because it seems like it destroyed your argument, right? Like, oh, Islam calls for the eradication of all Jews. So what happened then? Was the Ottoman Empire Christian? The Caliphate? Were they being Christian when they were like, hey, man, we should always have open borders for Jews across the planet? As a matter of fact, the Ottoman Empire was always in support of the emancipation and freedom of Jewish people, specifically from Spain. So what happened? What happened? You fucking donkey, you fucking ahistorical idiot. What happened? Huh? Hamas charter calls for the extermination. Fuck Hamas. What the fuck do they have? The only reason why they have any power is because of Israel's apartheid. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, Christian Caliphate of Rum. So what happened? Are you Googling an answer? Is that what you're doing? Are you Googling an answer real quick so you can come up with a fucking retort? You donkey? You ahistorical jackass? Does Islam have different sects? Are the Saudis the same as the Ottomans? Do they share the same fundamental beliefs? The fuck do you mean about the Saudis, dude? I thought the Saudis were in support of Israel. What's going on? Why are you bringing up the Saudis? Are the Palestinian Muslims different than the ones lived in historic Palestine under the Ottoman Empire? The Ottoman Caliphate is Sunni, you fucking idiot. They're Sunni. So how does that work? How does that work? Technically, so are the Saudis. They're Wahhabists, but they're Sunni. So how does that work? Go ahead. Same sect. Hocam senin tarih bilgin zayıf galiba. Amına koyayım senin. Allah belanı versin. Ama bu Türk köpekleri, bu İsrail'i savunan Türk köpeklerinin var ya, analarının amını sikeyim ben. Allah belanızı versin sizin köpek oğlu köpek. Orospu dölleri. Siz hepiniz hayvansınız, biliyor musun? Hepiniz hayvan oğlu hayvansınız. O kadar fazla azmışsınız ki Arapları sevmiyoruz diye kendini başka bir şey zannediyorsun. Geri zekalı. Amerikalıların ve Avrupalıların gözünde hiçbir farkın yok senin bir Arap'tan, biliyor musun? Günün sonunda insanların özgür yaşamaları gerekiyor. Sen burada geri zekalı gelip İsrail'i savunuyorsun. Allah belanı versin senin köpek oğlu köpek. Orospu çocuğu. Var ya, günün sonunda var ya, isteseler hepinizin anasına mavi Marmara yaptırır İsrailliler. Ama yok, aman biz savunacağız. Neden? Çünkü Kürtlere aynı boku yedirtiyoruz. O yüzden kendimiz orada oturup savunmamız lazım İsrail'i. Orospu çocuğu. Allah belanı versin senin. What about Iran? Geri zekalı. Utan lan utan. Köpek oğlu köpek. Utan. Seni insan görmeyen adamları savunmaya çalışıyorsun. Günün sonunda kendi felsefen olması lazım. Bir inancın olması lazım. İnsanları korumak istemen lazım. Götüne sokarlar. Her gün mavi Marmara yaparlar isteseler. Hiçbir bokta diyemezsin. Bro, I'm Circassian. If you think an American can tell if I'm Turkish, you are delusional. I don't give a fuck what you are, okay? You fucking donkey. You responded to me in Turkish. How the fuck am I supposed to know what kind of dog shit, what kind of dog shit opinions you have that are guided by whatever the fuck you believe, okay? Dumbass bitch. Shut the fuck up. This fucking absolute moron had to be like, oh, I think you don't really know anything about the history of the situation. When you tried to fucking explain to me that the Ottoman Empire had different rules and that Islam wanted to just fucking eradicate all Jews. And as soon as they realized that, like, oh, fuck, maybe that's not the case, it's so stupid. Goalposts kept moving all the way to the parking lot. Yeah. Dude, if you think that religion has anything to do with Israel-Palestine, you are literally the most delusional fucking dumbass on the planet. And yes, this even includes Jank's assessment of the situation that I have actually criticized regularly. Okay? You're out of your fucking mind, dog. Like religion, really? Religion is the reason? So why the fuck are Christian Palestinians getting owned in the West Bank then? What happened? Is it their religion too? Like why? Why are Christian Palestinians getting fucking destroyed in the West Bank? I thought it was religion, right? Religion? Really? Get the fuck out of here. I hate this. You have to be a child, I think. It's 100% about religion. Jewish bullets cannot shoot protesting Christian Palestinians. Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, they spit on Christian Americans there too. Because they aren't Jewish? Bro, what are you talking about, dude? What the fuck are we having? What kind of conversation are we having, dude? I am Christian Palestinian. They literally do not care about religion. They kill us the same. I got a buddy from OC that goes back home and they fucking detain him and fuck him up nearly every time. Yeah, but hey, listen. I don't know. Have you thought about not being Palestinian, you know? Israeli police arrest 5 following uproar over Jews spitting on Christians. The fuck? Yeah, dude. Settlers in the West Bank are some of the most rabid psychopaths. Okay? Straight up. Like, they're so insane that people living in Israel look at them and go, nah, dog, you're out of control. You need to fucking chill out. Okay? Like, and by the way, they do this with the government help. Okay? You are crazy. And that is supposed to be the peaceful side of Palestinian and Israeli coexistence. Okay? Look at what Ben-Gvir said about spitting on Christians. Israelis spitting on Christians is an old Jewish tradition. What the fuck? It's not a crime for Israeli Jews to spit on Christians. The Jewish holiday of Sukkot saw an increase in abuses on Christians by Israelis, according to Christian leaders in Jerusalem. Spitting on people of a minority religion would be considered a hate crime in most countries, but for the Israeli government, it is simply old Jewish tradition. Dude, Ben-Gvir is such a fucking psycho, dude. Holy moly. Anyway. Okay, let's continue. Let's finish this.
Today, that's up to at least 85% of the total area, turning 6 million Palestinians into refugees without a homeland. It's why, around the same time that Israelis are celebrating Independence Day, Palestinians are out protesting on May 15th, holding up keys as a symbol of the homes they lost and the hope to return.
Yeah.
For them, the Nakba isn't just a moment in history. It's a catastrophe that never really ended.
I'm a dream about it, you know. We lived a good life till 1948 when we were displaced.
Hamas uses the exact language as BLM. Watch closely. They're funded by some of the same groups that have many of the complaint, even protest together. Dude, you know what's really funny? Maybe, hey, if I was Charlie Kirk and I posted footage of the Israeli fucking occupying force breaking in to a house in the West Bank and then posted it and unironically said, look at these Hamas dogs and what they're doing in Israel to poor Israelis, maybe I would shut the fuck up about reporting on what's going on in Israel or Palestine. You know? But no, he hasn't stopped. It doesn't matter. That is, by the way, that has happened so many times over the course of the past fucking 2 days where people constantly keep posting Israeli crimes against Palestinians and going, dude, have you seen how fucked up shit is on the ground? And it's like, yeah, dog, I have for the past fucking 20 plus years, actually, as a matter of fact, which is crazy to me because you're still posting the same shit that the apartheid state is doing to fucking Palestinians and then flipping the script. Crazy. But of course, if you don't know shit, if you don't know anything about the formation of the state and all the violence that it needs, all the violence that is a necessity to continue having it exist in the violent state that it does, then, you know, what the fuck do you know? What the fuck do you care about? Yes, I have commented on the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis showed support to Israel with a pic of Palestinian children. The jokes truly write themselves. Well, to be fair, to be fair to Jamie Lee Curtis and all the Americans, there is an infinite number more of atrocities that Israel has committed against Palestinians than fucking vice versa. So, you know, sometimes you're going to end up accidentally posting the exact opposite. Okay?